Hi, Trevor here, reflecting on life through music. Thank you for stopping by. Well, coming again today, you're very, very welcome. How great to see everybody here. I trust you enjoyed my last video on Jim Croce, and through his song Time in a Bottle, we looked at how valuable time is and how awesome it is to waste it. So I trust you found that one encouraging. Well, going on from there to an absolutely tower, influential, beyond just massively influential guy today. Much has been said about this guy, but of course I've also got to add my little bit, and I'm nowhere near an expert when it comes to music, but this guy is an absolute tower, absolutely. He is considered the best guitarist of all time, this guy, and in the top 10 of best artists of all time. His story started in 1942 in Seattle. Jimi Hendrix was born. Now, Jimmy, around primary school, was starting to sort of, he had a bit of a broom, which they couldn't separate him from, and he was playing guitar on that. And he found a ukulele in the garbage, and he sort of played that as well. At the age of 15, he bought his first acoustic guitar for $5, and he started to be inspired by such people as Muddy Waters and B.B. King. One of the first tunes apparently he played was the theme from Peter Gunn, that one. So he continued just to develop his craft really in his teenage years, and he formed the band the Velvetones at the start, but because of some stuff that was going on, he had to choose between jail and going into national service, so he chose national service. And him and the army never really got on with each other that well, but he did spend a time as a paratrooper and got pretty good at that, getting a Screaming Eagles patch in 1962. But the army soon realised that he and the army just weren't going to work together, and so there was a general discharge given. So Jimmy thought, well, what am I going to do now? Let's head across the border to Nashville, Tennessee, where he formed the King Casuals. And he started to do some backing for some people such as Wilkin Pickett, Jackie Wilson, and the iconic Ike and Tina Turner. Now, they were massive back then. But he thought, well, I'm sick of actually playing second fiddle. I actually want to do my own thing. So he then moved right to the top of the country to Harlem in New York, met a girl up there who had some contacts, and she started to do some playing around the Harlem music scene, playing with such people as the Isley Brothers Band and Little Richard's Band. So he was getting well and truly noticed at this point. In fact, he was part of a Buddy and Stacey act, and in 1965 he was doing backing guitar for them. Got a bit of a live clip. Apparently this is one of the earliest clips of Jimi Hendrix playing shotgun. There he is playing guitar in the back, and of course this is nowhere near the image that we know Jimi Hendrix to absolutely be, but there he is. In 1968, still in New York, he moved to Greenwich Village, which is a bit of an arty-farty, trendy kind of place, and got to get well and truly immersed into the music scene there, and that was the start of the Jimi Hendrix experience. It's around 1966 that he was noticed by the iconic Keith Richards of the Rolling Stone, and at that point, Keith said, "Hey, why don't you come over to London and have a bit of a go over here, because there's a lot of influential people over here, people such as the Beatles, Eric Clapton, and a few other people like that." So he did just that. And there was actually a particular performance that Eric Clapton actually cited as being absolutely incredibly frantic. People just sat there with their mouths open. They could not believe what they were watching here. And we've got a live clip of Killing Floor. Now, he can see here already how incredible in freakish talent Jimi Hendrix as he actually is. He's renowned, first of all, left-handed, but he's renowned for just feedback, putting amplifiers through their paces, bit of bit of feedback, guitar and amplifier together, and just absolutely chronic distortion, including the wah-wah pedal, which he was able to bring into rock and roll music, absolutely. And because of that, he formed the Jimi Hendrix Experience in 1966. It's around that time that a reporter said to him, well, who are you guys and what's your sound? And Jimi Hendrix said, well, I actually don't really know. I just really into free feeling, a bit of rock, a bit of freak out, a bit of rave, and a bit of blues. And so, he was undefinable, Jimi Hendrix, and this is things that made Jimmy such an iconic person. In 1967, out came the iconic Purple Haze, and we got a live version of that one below. And Purple Haze as well, it was about all sorts of things. we do know what was happening in the late 1960s, don't we? We get that we had the hippie culture, sex, drugs, rock and roll, the whole thing. Jimi Hendrix is well and truly part of this. And I think one of the things we can take out of Purple Haze, first of all, how cleverly written this song is and how incredible the guitar work is. Let's not also underestimate Jimmy's voice. Jimmy's voice is absolutely stunning as well. And Purple Haze is just one of his iconic pieces, really. And it's good to be able to, I suppose, delve into the psychedelic experience a little bit more with Purple Haze. So I've got a live version of that one before. In 1968, out came the album Are You Experienced? Now, Jimi Hendrix only had 4 albums in total. And this particular album actually is in the Library of Congress as a significant recording. Of that, we've got a live version of Foxey Lady. And again, you can actually see just how incredibly talented this guy actually is. Of course, that album sent Jimmy into superstardom. The album was both had critical and commercial success. It's also paved a new way for psychedelic rock, and it's been cited this is the album that shook the world to its core. It actually was on the charts for 33 weeks, peaking at number 2. And so very, very significant album in the scheme of things, and music well and truly changed at this point. It changed a little bit further when Jimmy was challenged to actually just ramp up his act a little bit. And he thought, well, who else is doing things? He looked at the Who breaking their instruments and thought, what a great idea that one is. And so he thought, actually, before I do that, I'll actually set it on fire as well. And we've got the Monterey Festival, pretty iconic. Seeing this one of Jimi Hendrix setting his guitar on fire. We've got a live version of that one below. We then move forward to Access, the Access album of 1967. This was in the top 10 of both the UK and the US and considered the number 92 of the top 500 albums of all time. We've got a bit of a documentary clip of a behind the scenes, which is really well and truly talking about the evolution of Jimi Hendrix's sound in this particular album, how he was pushing the envelope, particularly with distortion and feedback. And he was just gradually getting into his groove, and an absolutely iconic album, that one. In 1968, we had Electric Ladybird, again, a very, very important album, all along the Watchtower. At this point, America was in the middle of the Vietnam War, and of course the Vietnam War was a very contentious war for those at home, for those worldwide, and everyone just really wondered why America was there, but things were really happening in Asia at that time. All along the Watchtower, absolutely iconic Jimi Hendrix song. The song has been covered by many, many people since. And I think you too may have done this one. Bit of a protest song, absolutely. Now, at this point, so we've got a live version of that one below. Now, at this point, Jimi Hendrix was the highest paid performer on the planet. And to that end, he was actually the headline act for Woodstock. Now, the story goes that Jimmy didn't really like performing to big crowds, and so he changed his time slot from the headlining slot to Sunday morning, and there weren't quite so many people there, but obviously one of the most iconic scenes from that particular festival was his performance of the Star Spangled Banner. Don't get me wrong here. He is angry here. He is emulating his guitar into warfare. There's a lot of distortion, there's a lot of agony going on here, a lot of frustration going on here. This song told the world that the Vietnam War was not a good idea. And so we've got the live version of the iconic Jimi Hendrix version of the Star Spangled Banner. Now, there was a couple of little things that happened after that, but at the age of 27, yes, another one at the age of 27, in fact, one of the first maybe to die at the age of 27, and on the 18th of September 1970, Jimi Hendrix left this world. Another day, the music died, I'm thinking. But his legacy, 3 albums in his own name, one with a band called the Band of Gypsies. We're not sure how many albums have been sold, but it's around the 100 million mark, so very, very significant for 3 albums. Just get your head around that for a second. 3 albums, 100 million albums sold. He's been dubbed the greatest rock instrumentalist in rock music of all times. He's been known to pushing both guitar amps and guitar pedals to their absolute limits. Nothing was off the cards for Jimi Hendrix. He would absolutely push the envelope as much as he could. Not only, did he get the most out of his technology and his guitars at the time, but his technique was amazing. Iconic left-handed style with the tuning forks at the bottom. He just really, really pushed the envelope. Very, very influential indeed, and very much paved the way for the progressive rock movement that was starting at that point. As I've already said, the top guitarist of all time, in the top 100, and the 6th out of 100 greatest artists of all time. So there we go. To be the best guitarist ever is pretty significant. He's received the star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. He's been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and because there is some Native American descent, inducted into the Native American Music Hall of Fame, and there's been a number of Grammy Hall of Fame inclusions, including some of his songs and his albums, and he is well regarded by the industry as one of the most influential rockers of all time. So of course this channel too had to pay tribute to him. As I've already said, 3 albums, and one with the Band of Gypsies, around 100 million albums sold. So Jimmy was not scared to be himself. It did take a while for him to get going, but when he did discover his sound and what made him tick, he changed the world. And don't we love people who can change the world? Jimi Hendrix absolutely did that, and it's great to give him tribute today through this channel. So the links to those 7 clips are in the description below. And I've also included my last video from Jim Croce. So if you want to recap on him just for something completely different, feel free. Well, if this is your first time to Life Reflections in Music, or you've come back for another video, how great to see everybody here. Well, that's it for today. Next time, just for something completely different. Oh my goodness, so different. We had the very soft folk rock of Jim Croce 2 videos ago. There's the psychedelic, dysphagic rock of Jimi Hendrix today. Next time we're going to get onto the operatic, beautiful tones. And Gomer Pyle, Jim Neighbours, boy can this guy sing. So I've got to give him a bit of a go. So that's where we're heading next time. So until then, I'll catch you around. Bye for now.